Hey, it's Russell Loughlin here, and welcome to the third video in this series on the Offer Cube. And in this video, we are going to be diving deep into the core promise for your coaching program, right? So if you're some sort of education entrepreneur, you're offering a course or a coaching program or a membership site, you're going to get a lot out of this video because we're going to be diving deep into what I think is probably the biggest element that a lot of people get wrong in their offers. And I'm going to show you a really simple framework for you to kind of spice up what your promise is so you get more people coming into your world, stepping forward and saying, hey, can I please work with you? So to kind of recap what we've been covering in this video series so far, we kind of started with the problem, which is the invisible offer problem, right? Which is where your offer is kind of invisible to the market. And it's also kind of invisible to you because like your product is not your offer and your offer is not your product. Your product is pretty visible, right? So membership site, or it's a series of videos, or maybe it's a newsletter, or whatever it is. But your offer is invisible, right? It's like a intangible collection of things that you kind of put in front of someone and say, do you want this or not? And when your offer's not working, it's kind of hard to diagnose what part isn't working, right? It's not like you could take the car to your mechanic and say, hey, like the engine's wobbling like crazy, or the steering wheel won't turn to the left, and they can kind of use that information to diagnose what's wrong with your car. With your offer, it's a little more complicated, right? So we kind of pulled apart the main components of your offer, and that was those three elements were your offering, your messaging, and your sequencing. And we kind of dove into your offering, which is the thing that you're going to put in front of people to say, hey, this is what I've got. Do you want it? Right? And when we pull your offering apart, the core element you need to really improve is your promise, which is what is the market going to get out of your offering, right? If they give you money, what are they going to get? And we're not talking about the number of videos and the number of worksheets, right? Or how long they're going to have access to your portal. We're talking about the outcomes, right? We're not selling procedures. We're not selling processes. We're not selling worksheets. What you're selling are outcomes. And what I want to show you how to do today is going to dive in to mapping out what a really clear promise looks like and show you how you can sketch one out really clearly and start painting a picture of what success is going to look like for your market, right? So let's dive into this because I think you are going to get a lot out of it. Now, we're going to start here. We're just going to cover the key principles of what we're talking about, right? I'm a big fan of kind of principle-based marketing because if you understand the principles, you can apply them across the board, right? In many different situations and circumstances, we're not kind of just tapped into tactics, right? So if you can take these key principles, I'm going to show you one way to apply them. If you have another way that works better for you, fantastic, right? But I want to show you the key principles and a simple way to apply them in this video. So what are the key principles? Key principle number one is you want to use the rule of three, all right? What is the rule of three? Very simply, rule of three is a time-tested, phenomenal, easy to use communication strategy where you kind of condense your argument into three core points, right? You may have kind of learned how to write the 5-paragraph essay back in the day if you were in school, right? Where you had introduction, key point number one, key point number two, key point number three, and then conclusion, right? You want to do the exact same thing when it comes to your offer. Reason for this is the rule of three just makes everything feel and sound complete, right? If you're using the rule of three in your communication strategies and you have like three things about three things, it's just going to make you feel far more, what you're offering, far more grounded, far more reliable, and far more solid, right? Which is what people are looking for when they're looking for some sort of offering that they want to lean into. So you want to be able to leverage the rule of three. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Okay. Next key principle, right, is you want to measure their success. Okay. Now, what we mean by this is in every market, when they're looking to take advantage of any sort of offering, if they're looking to buy anything, in their mind, they have a measurement of success. What is success with this product, with this program, whatever it is, what's it going to look like, right? There are ways that they're going to measure success, and you need to understand what those are, right? Because if you don't understand it and if you can't articulate it, all you're really selling are procedures and kind of, you know, worksheets, and you're just selling a bunch of digital stuff, right? If we can match to the outcomes that they're looking for, if we understand how the market is measuring success, and if we can articulate our offer about we're going to get you from point A to that point, it's going to make everything so much easier to communicate. But also you're going to start seeing your market nodding their head along going, yes, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I need, right? So when we need to understand the measurements of success that people are measuring on, and then we need to tailor our offer around those measurements. Okay. Next key principle, we want to unlock their obstacles, right? There's a phenomenal book by a guy called Ryan Holiday on the, I think it's one of his early books in his series on like Stoic kind of writings. He studied like the Stoic philosophers of old. And that book is called The Obstacle is the Way, right? Core kind of old Stoic philosophy, which is like, if you were trying to get to a destination and there's an obstacle in front of you, dealing with that obstacle is the way forward, right? You don't want to be avoiding obstacles. You want to be leaning into them. In this situation, when you're talking to your market, they're considering this journey in their mind in the exact same way. They're trying to get to a destination and there's obstacles in front of them. You need to be able to articulate what are the obstacles that they're thinking about, right? When it comes to, let's say, I don't know, if you're helping people with music production and you're talking to kind of a bedroom DJ, let's say, and you're saying, hey, we're going to get you to a point where you're producing like 10 tracks a month. Like some of the obstacles they're going to think about that is, hang on a second, I can't even finish one track every month. How am I going to get to 10? I don't have the time to be producing, right? I don't have the equipment to be producing at that level. I don't have the skills to be producing at that level. There's going to be all these obstacles that they see in their mind, right? For how they're not going to be able to accomplish this after picture that we've just articulated. I'm going to show you how that works in a second here, but you need to identify what are those obstacles. And then we need the ability to say, we're going to not only remove that obstacle, but turn it into an element of success. We're going to unlock it and turn it inside out. Open the door to show them what's on the other side of that obstacle, right? If that's not clear, don't worry. We're going to paint the picture here in a second. We're actually going to draw it out on an iPad for you, but just want to be clear. When we're talking about that, we need to identify what the obstacles are and then turn them inside out. Okay. Then we need to nail their jobs to be done, right? I'm a huge fan of the jobs to be done theory, which basically says, look, no one buys any other product or any product for any other reason than to get a specific job done. And if we can say, hey, we're going to deal with this obstacle and we're going to make you win in this way, and we're going to do it by doing this thing, and this thing. If you can have those elements kind of working together in a very fun, congruent way, it just works like magic, because it's basically painting the picture in the prospect's mind of, we're going to deal with this problem and get you this win by doing these 3 things. Okay. So what we're going to be using is the rule of 3 at multiple levels when we're doing this model. And I think you're going to love how it works, right? And we're going to draw a model out to articulate and kind of do the thinking for your offer. And then what you're going to do is you're going to choreograph the presentation of that, and you're going to match it to whatever medium you're going to be presenting the offer in. So if you're presenting the offer on a sales page, we need to unpack it on a sales page, right? If you're presenting the offer in a document, in a Google Doc, we need to unpack it and choreograph how it unfolds in the Google Doc. Or if you're going to be doing it like I do, where you're basically presenting the offer in a video, you need to be able to choreograph and say, we'll do this first, this second, and this third. Okay. Now, we're about to get into drawing out what the offer is actually going to look like. Before we do that, if you want to actually get a copy of the worksheet I'm about to show you that shows you how to do this thing, right? Go below this video right now. There's going to be a link to download a copy. Click that, opt in, grab the worksheet, and then you'll be able to follow along with us here and go ahead and start mapping out your own model as we're going to draw it out on the page. Okay. Awesome. So here's the worksheets you're going to have downloaded. And what we're going to do is, you can see here, we're going to be using what we call the offer model method. Now, the offer model method is the strategy that we use with my private clients whenever we're trying to help you clearly articulate what is the promise of your program. Because what the promise of your program is basically going to be is, I'm going to get you to this destination, and we're going to deal with these 3 big problems in your way, and we're going to solve those problems by doing these 3 things per problem. Right? Really simple to understand. It's going to be even easier to understand when we kind of map out what it looks like in the model itself. Now, if you go to page number 1 here, right, you can see there's a slide with 2 models here, models that sell. I'm not going to talk about this one on the right here now, because that's not the point of this video, but this is what we call the journey. And this is about you understanding what level your person is at and what are they dealing with at that level. But once you understand what level they're at, the next thing you want to be able to do is articulate the outcomes. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to draw a really simple model. We're going to use a triangle because a triangle is very common shape that everyone's kind of familiar with. But you're going to put the outcomes in the middle, the big outcome in the middle, and then you're going to have 1, 2, 3 little mini outcomes in the corners, right? Then you're going to have problem 1, problem 2. I'm just going to put P2 here, and problem 3. Right, so very simply, this model works great because what you're able to do is say, I'm going to get you to this big outcome. The purpose of this course, this program, is to get you to this big outcome where you can paint in the details of here's what success looks like when we're at this outcome. You have like 3 dimensions you can measure success on. And then you're going to say, now, whenever I'm helping people get there, they usually are dealing with 3 problems that we have to solve. Problem 1, problem 2, and problem 3, right? Once we do that, then we can turn those problems inside out, right? And what you want to be able to do is articulate to your market, here's the journey you're on, right? And when you're at this level, this is what you're trying to accomplish. And here are the problems that you commonly kind of face based on my experience and wisdom. Because if you can do that, you demonstrate your authority and your expertise in a really tangible way where people go, wow, like they're articulating my circumstances more clearly than even I can right now. They clearly know how to solve this problem, so I should be paying attention, right? That's the effect we're going for here. And if you're watching this video, chances are you're pretty good at what you do, right? That tends to be the type of person that I attract into my world, right? And if that's the case, you just need a better tool to be able to articulate the value that you deliver by saying, I help you solve these 3 problems to get to this destination, right? So if you haven't already, grab the worksheet. And then what you're going to do is you're going to slide on here to page number 4, right? Real quickly, I'm not going to go through these right now, but you need to be able to articulate how people measure their success, right? We want to be aiming for a specific result in a set time frame, and if necessary, chunk the promise down, right? If your kind of big program helps people solve this massive result or massive problem and get a big result over like 2-3 years, we want to be able to articulate it down and say, well, let's make it more tangible and realistic for what you might be able to accomplish in the next 3 to 6 months, right? Most of the time, people aren't looking at this massive horizon like 2-3 years away. They're looking at this short horizon for what do I need to accomplish in the next 3 to 6 months to solve the big problems that are in front of me right now, okay? So when we're doing that, we need to be able to measure their success. And there's a couple of ways that you can measure success. The first of those is what we call measurable currencies, right? Money, leads, right? Clients, customers, students, all of these are kind of one way of saying money, right? People kind of are trying to get money in their life, and they have all these different ways of measuring how money is coming in. Leads leads to clients, clients leads to money, etc. But people might be measuring success at different levels. They might be looking for a certain revenue number, or they might be trying to bring in another 5 clients in the next month. You want to be able to understand how is your market measuring that currency. Now, money isn't the only currency, right? You've also got time, you've got health, you've got output. So for example, if you're helping music producers in the example I mentioned earlier, one big output measurement is how many tracks are you finishing every month, right? Or how many albums are you releasing every year, right? If you can help someone amplify their output or achieve a new level of output, that's a phenomenal promise to be able to make, right? And then you might also have like exposure as another one, right? Maybe your reach, your influence, your audience numbers. These are all just examples of measurable currencies. It's not a complete list, but for your market, there are going to be measurable currencies in their mind that they are trying to get more of, right? And that's what they want to be able to do. They want to give you money for your course and program saying, I'm going to give you this currency, and I know I'm going to get this much currency in another currency back. That's really what a great offer does, is it's going to articulate, you're going to get these outcomes, and we're going to do it by solving these problems. But first, you need to know the outcomes that they're looking for. And they either may be measurable, or they may be in the second category here, which is binary outcomes. Now, what binary outcomes, right? These, like, if you ever thought, oh, Ross, I can't articulate, like, it's not easy for me to say what I do. It's not simple and straightforward like with you, where you say, I help people, grow your money. Like, money is measurable. And it's like, of course, right? It's easy to be able to measure money. But for a lot of folks, yourself included, maybe, you might be helping people with what we call binary outcomes, right? Now, what a binary outcome is, simple and straightforward, Are you single or are you married? Right? Are you one or the other? Okay. Are you overweight or are you underweight? Right? Body weight is something, as an example, that can be both a measurable currency, but it's also a binary outcome, right? One of my clients in the past, she had people who were extremely overweight and saying to her market, like, I'm going to help you lose 13 pounds or 15 pounds, just didn't make sense, because if someone is like 250 pounds, losing 30 pounds isn't really what they're looking for, right? And saying like, I'm going to help you kind of lose this much weight wasn't resonating with her market, because what they wanted to do was get back to a healthy weight, right? That's a binary outcome where the measurable currency isn't as important as getting to that outcome, right? Another example of being of a binary outcome is, are you on Spotify or are you not, right? Great offer for some musicians is, I'm going to help you get on Spotify, right? Or have you launched your program or have you not launched your program, right? Whatever about the amount of money that you make, you've either launched or you haven't launched. And sometimes launching, just getting anything out there, is a successful binary outcome that you can help people accomplish. So if you're having trouble with measurable currencies, have a think through, what are some of the binary outcomes that I help people with, right? Are you currently dating or are you not dating, right? Like, it's not necessarily about getting 20 dates a week. Even getting back into the scene of dating anyone is a binary outcome that some single people would absolutely love to get if you're in the dating market, okay? So once you have your measurable items here, once you've been able to measure their success and you know what measurable currencies and binary outcomes are looking for, then you can start to draw out your model, right? You go on to page number 5 here, right? And you can see here we have the offer model itself. Now, really quickly, I'm going to show you kind of a complete version here, and then we're going to walk through how this was assembled. Awesome. So here is the completed model for the first kind of layer. And this is for my model, for my open everyday program. And you can see in the middle here of the triangle, we have some outcomes, right? And we're painting the picture of what this person actually wants. So for my model, what I've got here is, I help people make their business open every day, right? What does that mean? Basically means you don't have to be selling using the cart close strategy all the time and using fake urgency and scarcity, just manipulate people into buying. Like, you have a business that's open every day. You're having conversations with new clients consistently all year round, and you're enrolling folks into your business consistently, regardless of whether you're running a massive launch campaign or not, right? Now, when we're looking at how we measure that, that is a binary outcome, right? You're either open every day or you're not open every day, right? Now, to kind of further paint the picture of how my market articulates success or measures their success, the first element there would be earning 20K a month, right? That's like one of the big first goals that a lot of the education entrepreneurs that are looking to work with me is looking to accomplish, is how do we get to 20K a month, right? The next measure after that is 40K, then it's like 60K, and then on to 80K, right? But for the most part, 20K is kind of the starting point. Then up at the top here, no launches, right? We have one measurable currency down the bottom left here, and then we have a binary outcome in the top corner here. So no launches. We want to do this with no launches. And then we also want to do it in a way down here where we have a smiley face, where the whole thing feels awesome, right? You're not being forced to kind of use these marketing strategies that just don't feel good at all. Like, that's not what we want for you. And that's not necessarily what my market wants. So when I'm painting a picture of success where your education-based business is open every day and you're getting 20K a month, you have no launches, and the whole process feels awesome, that is how my market is measuring success for what they're looking for on the next chapter of their journey. Okay. Now, just on the outside of this triangle, these are the common obstacles and problems that my market have to deal with when they're trying to get to that point, right? So let's kind of dive through each of them and then unpack how we're going to be able to illustrate this next part of the process where we're going to turn their obstacles inside out, right? So number one here, right, is you've got no money outside of launches, right? So that means for a lot of people, if they're not launching, nobody's buying. And that's a big obstacle for them. So that's out here, obstacle problem number one, right? For the next part of the problem on the right here, sales feels icky. Sales feels gross. Sales feels incongruent. And it's typically because that person has some sort of methodology that they've been taught to sell with that just doesn't jive with their personality or their style, and they're resisting it, okay? And then the last problem is poor lead flow. Okay. And that's an issue for a lot of education entrepreneurs who haven't got their offer sorted, right? Who haven't got high enough conversions, is they're not able to go out and get more leads in an economic way. So they're kind of stuck in this part where they've got this trickle of leads coming in, or there's no leads at all. And it's hard to kind of grow your education-based sales if you've got no new leads coming in. So these are the three big obstacles that we're dealing with when we're trying to make someone's business open every day. So how do we solve them? Well, for the first part here, what we're going to do is we're just going to turn these inside out. We're going to unlock them and get them to the other side. So what that would look like is we're going to go from no sales outside of a launch to enrolling people all year round. Okay. So basically we're just going from one to the other, right? People not only buying inside of a launch to people buying all the time, right? Sales feel icky. We're going to turn that inside out. And we get to a point where sales are congruent with who you are, right? They fit, they feel awesome, and we're really happy with how it works, okay? And then we're going from poor lead flow to a point where we have high quality leads, right? Now, that's a really simple way to basically go from, hey, this is the problem and obstacle you're dealing with, and here's what's on the other side of that problem being solved. So when we're talking about unlocking their obstacles, we do this by basically saying we're going to go from here to there, right? And now we've painted a picture where it's like, hey, on our journey to accomplish what's on the inside of the triangle, right, we're going to solve these problems and get you to this secondary location, stage 1, over here. Oh, my pen stopped. Stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. Okay. Now, the last part we got to do is we got to basically say to them, here's how we are going to do it. Okay. Meaning, how are we going to get you from a point where you are having no one converting outside your launch to enrolling people all year round? Well, for the most part, what I say to people when they're doing that is you're dealing with a launch-based offer, and you need to get to a point where you have a non-launch-based offer that converts consistently all year round. For that, we need to have a focused target market. On top of that, what we need is a clear and compelling offer. And last but not least, we need to make sure that offer is open every day. Okay. And if we do those three things, that is what's going to allow someone to move from being only getting launches inside of only getting sales inside of a launch to consistently enrolling people all year round. Okay. Over here on the right side, if we have an element where it's like, hey, sales feels icky, and then we're getting to a point where sales feels incongruent, well, what do we need to do there? Well, in my experience, what we need to do is we need to have a system for folks to find the now buyers in their world, out of the new leads that are coming through, right? Who are the leads that are actually going to convert right now? And can we sell to them, right? Because nothing turns people off and nothing feels ickier than trying to persuade and sell people who are just not interested, right? And who are not ready right now. And we feel like we're trying to push them into our sales process. The way you solve that is you quickly sort who is qualified and ready right now and who is not. And we need to find the now buyers and sell to them. And we need to sell to them unapologetically because we have an offer that can change their lives, right? Not being pushy, but also not being timid, right? We need to find the right balance between those two. If we do that, though, we then have a bunch of people who are not going to be ready right now. And what we need to do in that case is build relationships, right? With the prospects who are going to be ready later, right? So build relationships for later. Because if we do that, now we have an engine in our system, right, in our business, where we're finding the people who are ready to get started right now, converting them and getting started in our program, but not at the cost of turning off the people that are going to be ready later, and we're building a relationship with them for when the time is right, right? This 1-2 punch is probably the single most effective strategy I have found when it comes to converting people into courses and programs. And I want to show you the third part is once you have those two pieces in place, the last thing you got to do is you got to run regular enrollments. Right? We got to do that in a way that's non-pushy, that we're not just being hypey and we're not just like battering people over the head with launches, because we don't want to turn people off and we don't want to become predictable, but we do need a consistent way to find the people in our audience who are ready now, right? The people who were ready later, like 6 months ago, how do we find the people that are ready now out of that bundle of leads that came into our world back then, right? Those are the 3 jobs that we got to complete. But if we do that, then we go from sales being icky to sales feeling congruent, right? And that's a really exciting place to be. Now, the last part we got to do down here is we got to solve the poor lead flow situation, and we got to get people to a point where they have high quality leads. To do that, we got to, again, do 3 jobs, okay? Number 1 is we got to target right fit prospects, meaning we are only working with people, or we're only trying to attract people into our world who are actually the right fit for our business, right? Nothing is worse than a bunch of lead gen efforts that bring a bunch of looky-loos who are not interested in solving the problem that you solve, and they're just kind of being curiosity tire kickers, kicking your thing, saying, hey, oh yeah, I'll take this quiz, right? Like, no, we want to be targeted with our lead gen and attract the folks who are actually interested in solving the problem, okay? So that's the first thing we got to do. Next thing we got to do is we got to make sure that when they're coming in, they are engaged and excited. What we don't want at all is folks coming to you saying, hey, who are you again? How did you get my email address? Right? Instead, what we want is folks coming in and saying, hey, I downloaded that book. I didn't get my copy. Can you please send it to me? Because I really wanted to read it. Or that tool you offered, I haven't got my copy yet, right? We want people actually asking for the thing that you've got because they feel like it's something that can help them, okay? And then the last part, as much as possible, we want your lead gen to be automated and inbound. Now, there's no such thing as 100% automation, but for the most part, what we don't want is you having to go out and like do cold outreach to people. But we want to set up the systems, have it run, and then allow the prospects to come to us, because it's just a way better position to be in when people are seeking you out and engaging you, rather than you having to go out there and like pound the pavements and like cold outreach and like all that DMing on social media. This is not what we're talking about like at all, right? So here you can see how the offer model works, right? You can grab, if you haven't already, grabbed the copy of the worksheet, but we're using, what are we using here? Core principles, right? Rule of 3. We have measuring their success in the inside with the rule of 3, right? We have their unlocking their problems with the rule of 3. And then for each problem we're unlocking, we've got nailing their jobs to be done, again, using the rule of 3. So you don't have to use a triangle. You can use whatever shape you want. Triangle's a great one because it just has 3 sides. So it kind of fits nicely with the rule of 3. But this is a great way for you to be able to articulate your core promise. Now, if you're looking for some extra help with this, right? If you're looking for maybe how do you get your promise down, and how do you turn this into videos? How do you turn this into an offer doc where you can share it? Or how do you convert this into a sales page? Just go below this video, right? Check out the link there. You can fill out the form. We can have a quick conversation where we can take a look at your offer, right? We can kind of pull it apart, find where the issues might be, right? We can kind of run the offer cube model on it and say, hey, where might the blocks be, right? What might the bottleneck be in your offer, right? And if you're looking for my help with that, I'm happy to offer it. All you have to do is go below the video, right? We don't need to get in a sales call. We don't have to do anything like that, right? You just fill out the form and we'll have a really quick text conversation, and we'll take a look at your stuff. We'll come back and say, hey, here's what we think might be going wrong. And we'll come back with some recommendations for how you might be able to fine tune your offer to get more conversions in as little as the next week, right? If that's something that you're able and interested to do, right? So this has been Ross O'Loughlin. Hopefully this has been useful for you, right? If you have any other questions, hit me up via email or over the text exchange. Otherwise, go below this video, grab your worksheet, and hit me up on the forum below as well to get your offer kind of review so we can take a look at it and see where some of the problems might be, all right? Hopefully this has been useful. Glad that you spent the time with me today, and we'll catch you soon in the next video.